And we're just going to dive straight down, parachute right down into verse 8 here. Someone want to read that in the New King James.
Likewise, also these dreamers defile the flesh, reject authority, and speak evil of the dignitaries.
Okay. Old King James is, likewise also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion. Okay, so that would be reject authority, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignitaries. So the only change there is reject authority and despise dominion. Okay, despise, okay. All right, so let's see what this person has to say. He raises three questions. The first one is, why did Michael and Satan fight over the body of Moses? Lydia, do you ever wonder about that? You ever ask your parents and say, hey, I was just thinking the other day, you know, why did Michael and Satan fight over the body of Moses? You know, typical Lydia question. You know, so.
Yeah, they were talking about it at school.
Yeah, right.
During tetherball.
As they're hitting the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one is Michael stronger than Satan? And finally, why did Michael merely ask God to rebuke Satan rather than engaging him in combat, which was, like I said, I would have liked to see. Well, let's just tackle this, right? First one, why did Michael and Satan fight over the body of Moses? All right? Andrew, are you feeling up to it?
I think so.
All right.
Contending translates the Greek word diakrino, which means to separate thoroughly, that is, literally and reflexively, to withdraw from, or by implication, to oppose.
Okay.
Disputed translates the Greek word dialegome, which means to say thoroughly, that is, to discuss, argument, or exhortation.
Okay. So there clearly was an argument. There was a disputation. There was words. Okay. And I guess it's hard to wrap our minds around this because of the fact that we're dealing with angels. Right? We're not talking man to man here. Okay? Angels. But we've said this so many times that there's three planes of life. Right? There's three layers of life. There's life on the earth, which we're most familiar with, right? There's life below the earth, and there's life above the earth. They're just different planes of existence. But the other two are as real as this one. Right? They are as real, and we're given glimpses of it, and hints of it, and some descriptions of it, you know. The difference between these is that they have the advantage of, you know, having first lived this life perhaps, or at least they have the advantage of knowing about this life. In other words, they can intersect with this plane of life. We cannot intersect with their plane of life because we go from physical to spiritual, okay, invisible. Now, sometimes the spiritual and material connect. When a man in the middle area sees an angel that's originally and normally naturally spiritual, invisible, and he sees him because he's intersected into this plane of life and must take on a material in order to have a conversation. Okay? So it's kind of hard for us to understand a plane of life that we can't see. And when we think of angels, we think of spirit. When we think of spirit, we think of wind, or something that's intangible. You can't touch it, see it, smell it, feel it. Okay? But they're in the same plane of life, just like we are. We interact with one another in our common plane of life. They are in a common plane, a common area of life. So they can have conversations. They interact with one another in that plane because they're in it together. Okay? Just kind of hard for us to wrap our head around. But contending is then read to separate thoroughly, to withdraw from, to oppose.
What's the context of why they're fighting over him? I don't understand.
Well, Jude is talking about people, okay, and he's bringing this up as an example. Maybe we should have done it. Maybe we should have read around that a little bit. Let's see here. Well, let's just start from the beginning. It's a short letter here. Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ, and brother James, to them that are sanctified by God the Father and preserved in Jesus Christ, and called. Mercy unto you, and peace, and love be multiplied. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that you should earnestly contend for the faith, which was once delivered unto the saints. New King James says once for all, delivered unto the saints. So they bring that idea out a little more clearly. For there are certain men, so he's saying, look, I'm writing to you to adhere to and to contend for this certain dogma, okay, that was given to the saints, to hold on to it and practice it, okay? And the reason he's emphasizing that is, now he goes into the heart of his message, the heart of his letter. For there are certain men crept in unaware, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness, and denying the only Lord God and our Lord Jesus Christ. So, I've said this many times, that early on, there's strong indications and testimonies from the writers of the New Testament that things were already starting to upset the apple cart, as it were. In other words, things were creeping in. And this is something we can see in our own day, in our own time, where our original government believed God, right? They believed in God. They believed in Jesus. They were spiritual people, right? Our founding fathers. But men have crept in unexpectedly, unaware, sneakily, have crept into our government and changed the composition of our government, the founding. So that if the founding fathers were alive today and our present administration, they were all in the same room, they would not get along very well. They just wouldn't, okay, because of the policies and principles that they have reflected upon us today do not match that of our Constitution and the founding fathers. So they would probably have a brouhaha here, you know what I'm saying? So that's what he's saying. But people have come in to slip in to try to change the New Testament church. So they crept in, and I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, so he's just using another example, reaching way back in the Old Testament, afterward destroyed them that believed not. And the angels which kept not there, so he's just rattling up one example of another, of people who were in position but left it. In position but forsook it, okay? So he's got this on his mind. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Likewise also these filthy dreamers, now he's referring back to, again, verse 4, okay, these men who crept in. So he reaches back to people who the example is there, but they're dead. He's reaching upward to heavenly spirits, okay, angels. But then as far as they're concerned, in the immediate and the now, what's affecting them? What's going on in their world? What's he bothered about? Why is he writing this letter? Because of people in this plane of life have infiltrated the Lord's churches, okay, and are messing with them. So, likewise also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. Yet Michael the archangel, okay, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, the Lord rebuked thee. So does that help? Okay. So, in contrast to these who have risen up within the assemblies and Paul warned about this, where's that chapter and verse? Paul warned about this, men will come in among yourselves and to draw away disciples after themselves. Where does someone find that? So Paul warned about this. Well, it's happening. Was that actually happening in Paul's time as well. So he says, look, he says, these people are pretty bold. He says, even Michael didn't do that. When contending with the devil himself didn't do that. Okay? He just said the Lord rebuked you. Hey, the Lord rebuked you. Well, keep in mind that Michael and Lucifer, that's the original name for the devil kids, Lucifer, knew one another. Right? When before Lucifer fell, they all showed up in heaven, and whatever they did up in heaven near the throne of God, they were there. Okay? They were, you know, you might say, I'll just use this loosely, you know, that's what I mean, they were brothers. You know what I'm saying? There was Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer all hung out. Right? Okay? And they appeared at the throne of God. And they were chief angels, they were archangels. And so these two know each other. They got a history, however far back that history goes. But my, how things have changed now. Now, instead of, you know, talking about the word of God or praising God together, side by side, elbow, arm locked in arm, now they're opposite. Okay, one's gone to the dark side, kids. He's gone over to the dark side. Okay, so he's not with the Michael and the other angels anymore. All right, so let's see what this guy has to say. That helps, though, right? Breaks it down. Okay.
Does it, is it in the Old Testament, this account?
No,
No, we don't hear about it in the
No.
Old Testament.
no, no. That's what's interesting. The only battle between these two that we are made aware of is upcoming yet. It's a future battle. Okay. So we know in Revelation 12, when these two go at it, it won't be the first contest between them. It's like, since Lucifer left, it's like now he's pitted himself against God, against the holy angels, you know, the elect angels, Gabriel, Michael, the whole family up there, referred to as the sons of God. He's pitted himself and his army and his demons against that group. Okay? And we're guessing it's about a third. We're guessing it's about a third of the size of the holy angels, the elect angels. No, the only real contest is yet to come. Okay? But so this is, well then, how did they know? How did they know this? Well, it's either there was a record of it somewhere, and there was an extra biblical record of it, or that they had writings, or it was by inspiration. But he seemed, you know, he's not batting an eyelash, just like, you know, yet when Michael the archangel, well, they had information back then.
We don't see it before
Yeah. All right, so why the dispute? Why the dispute? Vanessa, would you like to take that part? Why the dispute?
God personally buried Moses in a secret location. Then the Lord said unto him, This is the land which I swore above Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but ye shall not cross over there. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley of Moab, despite Beth-peor, but no one knows his grave to this day.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess Lucifer knew where it was. And so why the dispute? Well, so he's buried him. Why do you suppose he hid the body? Why do you suppose other people didn't know? That's interesting. Rachel, you see, your thoughts are just kind of. Better oil those gears because I can hear them way up here. What are your thoughts? Why would God hide the body? I mean, they can go there now. This is Abraham's, in general, right? This may be tradition, but Abraham's grave, and other places, other people. But Moses, why not? What a difference. Think about how Moses is highly revered among the Jews.
Well, he's a war hero. I mean, he's General Washington, or
Yes.
he's MacArthur, or
Yeah.
Andy's favorite, Robert E. Lee.
Right.
He's that type of status.
Uh,
And so, I mean, don't we see in the New Testament them still saying, you know, we're from Moses?
mhm.
You know, he was revered pretty highly. Wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do like a weekend at Bernie's and dig him up and just kind of carry him around a little bit and prop him up and, hey, everyone, we're here, and look, Moses is sitting over there, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Even though he's dead.
Right.
So, like, I
Right.
mean, they would, plus, I think Egypt probably would have gone and tried to find it and desecrate it, dig him up and,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Random thoughts, and I could only
Yeah.
hear those from Rachel.
Right.
Those were the gears.
Telepathic thoughts just jumped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a Deanna Troy.
Well, that was my thought too, that they would somehow idolize him in a manner that would be not right. And or the Egyptians, I never thought of that angle, but, yeah, the Egyptians could come in and maybe desecrate his body. I mean, when they got a hold of Saul, I mean, did they cut his hands off? What did they do to Saul? They hung him up on the side of a wall, and they cut him in pieces and hung him up, you know, so they didn't like Saul at all, the Philistines, so. So who knows? So anyway, so he hid the body. All right, so he says here, in my opinion, God did this so that the gravesite of Moses would not become an object of worship by the Jewish people. You know, the Muslims have their object of worship in Mecca. It's a big black box, a square box called the Kaaba. And I saw this picture the other day of just thousands of them gathered all around, all four sides, and just, the numbers just radiate out. So you got this box, and all these people all around it. And the ones up front I noticed, you know, we're doing what the Jews do with the Wailing Wall. You know, they're touching it and they're praying. And so this is their Wailing Wall, as it were. So somehow got a hold of something, a study on that object and its history and what it means to them. So maybe one of these days we'll run through that. Would anyone be interested in that?
What's it called?
It's called the Kaaba, Kaaba. So
How big is it?
it's supposed to have a stone that had fallen from the heavens, a black stone. Anyway, so it's an idol. It's an idol. But anyway, so he says here, in my opinion, God did this so that the gravesite of Moses would not become an object of worship by the Jewish people. Satan wanted to take Moses' body so that it could be enshrined in a public location known to the Jews. Thus, the body of Moses would have become an object of veneration or worship by the Jews, which would have been what?
No.
Idolatry. And if they're gonna worship a golden calf, you know, I mean, they're not gonna stop or hesitate worshiping Moses himself. So, all right. Philip, you wanna take that concerning?
Concerning the possibility of idolatry toward Moses, consider what happened on the Mount of Transfiguration. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with them. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. When you keep going.
Yeah, so this was, picture this is an image. This is just a vision or an image that they were shown. You know, I'm wondering if it was actually the actual people in their plane of life. In other words, because they were in the spiritual realm now, right? And they don't have a body like they used to. I wonder, like an angel, if they were given a glimpse of their glorified bodies. In other words, as men, because we're gonna come back as people, right? We're gonna come back in human form, but in a spiritual human form. Okay? And we'll, never to die again. So, Andrew, you're gonna say something?
Oh, no.
So, Peter was right then and there. Let's honor you three, okay? So, all right, Rachel, I can't stand the silence. Okay, we're gonna give you this one here, okay? When Moses.
When Moses and Elijah appeared with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration, Peter wanted to build tabernacles for each of them. Had Jesus given Peter his way, these tabernacles could well have become sites for worship. Why would Satan want the Jews to worship Moses?
That's a good question.
Keep going.
Because you're doing what?
More to the point, why does Satan sponsor all forms of idolatry and false religions? He does so in order that people will worship anyone and anything other than the true and living God.
Think about this, who's the devil after the most, as far as his agenda goes with mankind? And if he was to, what do you do when you make a list and you put things at the top, you prioritize? See, I'm a little rusty on that, but anyway, if you prioritize things,
Have you ever done that?
No, I'm trying to think.
It's a concept, you've heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah, that's why I'm reaching for the word, what is it? Oh, yeah, priority.
Yeah.
Who would be at the very top of the list? Brian, in your mind, who would be at the top of the list? If the devil says, okay, well, I've got a list of targets, the number one target would be
Believers?
believers, okay? Anyone care to add or elaborate on that? Okay, hold that thought, okay? Rachel's got her hand up.
We would because he's already got the unbelievers. Why does he
Okay.
need to go after them?
Okay, right,
And if he stops us, then
okay,
we can't get them.
okay, all right. Let's just create this list here.
Prioritize this.
Yep, this, prioritize this,
First
okay?
time for everything.
First time for everything, okay, so
Old dog.
number 3. Oh, wait, I haven't done it.
Right. Old dog, new tricks.
1, okay, we're still discussing this, okay, but we have, unbelievers. Would definitely be low on the list, wouldn't they? Now, he certainly has gone after them in the terms of, they built the world. Believers really haven't built the world, right? It's unbelievers that have built the world, okay? I mean, these lights are on, and we're able to enjoy these facilities, but I dare say you're not writing a rent check out to a corporation of believers, per se. Okay. And so, the car you drive, it wasn't manufactured by believers. So unbelievers have built the world, so the devil's got them in his back pocket. He has derailed them, sidetracked them to go after material and physical. Okay, so you're right, so that would be kind of low on his list, but they are on his list. Okay, he is the God of this age, and he's blinded the minds of them that believe not, right? So they're on his list. Okay, but you're saying believers, all right? All right. I would agree. I would totally agree. However, I would refine it just a little bit. You know where I'm going? I would refine it. I would kind of modify it a little bit, refine it a little bit. I would kind of break believers down a little bit.
Those who are being prepared to be in the bride.
That would be my thought.
The church? Church. So
Yeah, that would be my thought, okay? Which is what we're seeing in Jude.
Those in covenant relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
Those who have
Yeah.
entered into covenant through baptism.
Yeah.
And are worshiping in this true New Testament church.
If you despise somebody, you despise them so badly, would you not want to go after the ones that bring that person honor and glory? Wouldn't you want to take them out with every ounce of energy that you have? Okay, and so if I were the devil, I would go after the covenant people in a big way. I would try to rip into them, and I would try to discourage them. I would try to bring confusion into their ranks. I would try to divide them. And this is what we're seeing in Jude. This is exactly what we're seeing in Jude, okay? And this spirit of Antichrist that John talked about was just beginning to get rolling there. The early introduction of it into the churches. And it's been rolling ever since, right? It's been going strong ever since. And so,
As you said, he has the unbelievers. There are other things going on in the world. The devil's main focus was to make sure that Israel and Judah had corrupt kings. Which we studied, right?
Yeah.
We studied all the kings.
Uh-huh.
And the majority of them were corrupt.
mhm,
And so he made sure that they were worshiping idols. so why wouldn't he try to put an object of worship in front of Peter's eyes
Mhm.
at a pretty impactful moment for him, a moment he probably remembered the rest of his life?
Mhm.
He wanted to sort of memorialize that and probably create an object of worship because of that.
Mhm.
So he's always trying to dissuade those who truly believe,
Yeah.
which in the Old Testament is Israel,
Mhm.
and in the New Testament is the church.
Mhm.
And whoever it is,
Mhm.
whoever is in that number one, by the way, good job prioritizing, you did it, you're capable of
I-
doing it.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
remember this day.
Yeah.
Whoever are deemed as believers, whoever are in covenant with the Lord, that's who he pursues, and he does it relentlessly. He asked to sift Peter as wheat.
Yeah.
He wanted Peter,
Yeah.
because he knew the importance Peter was playing and would play down the road.
Yeah.
And so he goes after those who make an impact. He pursued Paul. The moment he converted, he
Yeah.
pursued Paul.
Yeah.
They were after his life
Yes.
within days
Yep.
of Acts 9. And
Yeah.
so that's what we see, is that's his entire focus, is to stamp out every single last one.
Yeah. We're not saying that he won't go after all those who profess Christ. I think we're seeing that now. Because, you know, we're not seeing the world and its anti-Christian, spirit and animosity, separating out covenant people. They don't know and they don't care, right? We're just another church, and we're all in the same pot. But the devil knows. I mean, the Lord knows who are his, but the devil also knows those who are his.
So he knows the differences between the
Oh,
church
absolutely, he
and
knows,
the-
sure he does.
That's why he had one church pursue his church from the Dark Ages.
Mhm.
He created an entity
Yeah.
as the enemy and the
Yeah.
object to pursue his true church,
Yeah.
the Lord's true church,
Yeah.
those who were not accepting foreign baptism or infant baptizing.
Mhm.
He created an entity to go after them, to kill them all.
And even when that entity split, as they couldn't agree, so now that one enemy has become multiple enemies, they ganged up together collectively, they ganged up on the same Anabaptists. And so, wow, so that's the rage of the devil, that's the fury that we read about in Revelation 12.
What about the Jews of today? Do you think they would be on the list?
They're always on the list, as far as, yeah.
I know, because there's such hatred for the
Yeah.
Jews
Yeah.
in a lot of countries.
Well,
I mean, he's behind that, I'm sure.
Good,
but
'cause
Is he
the-
interested in the Jews of today, or are they just in the unbeliever spot?
He is, because he's gonna raise up Antichrist to go after the Jews every bit as much as after those who keep the testimony of Christ. Okay, so, see, I'm thinking the devil knows the end game. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe he's given some kind of inclination as to how this thing's gonna roll out. So if you've got, when it's all said and done, you've got a earth, and you've got people in this city praising God, and he hates God. He wanted to be like God. God shot him down, said, "You're not gonna be like me." So, he hates God with every fiber of his, invisible being, okay? And so he knows that God is gonna, in the end, he's gonna have a group of worshipers inside the city just praising the person he absolutely hates. Now think about this, we have kind of a precedent here, we have kind of a glimpse of a picture here where there was two men in the Bible, mortal enemies. Now, the one was the enemy, it's saying like, I'm an enemy, I'm your enemy, but you're not fighting back at me. I'm the aggressor here, okay? I hate your guts, okay?
Wow.
And you know I hate your guts.
This is being recorded, right?
Yeah.
Easy there.
Yeah, but you're not doing anything to really fight back with me, okay? So there's two men in the Old Testament that we kind of see this intense, animosity. One is Mordecai, and the other is Haman, okay? Haman hated Mordecai with all of his being. And then when Mordecai was lifted up and honored, okay, he had to eat crow. And he went to his house, and hung him. No, I'm sorry, they hung him, didn't they? They captured him, and they hung him, okay? But he was honored, and so Mordecai hated him. And so we see the devil hates those that are going to be honored by God, because he's not in that group anymore. He forsook it, he left it. He's on the outs. He'll never get it back. Oh, so that's kind of a picture of this, the intensity between those in the city are his number one target. So here's what I would do. I would put covenant believers, and then I would put the rest of the saved. The saved at large. Okay.
And just as a side note too, didn't we see that same sort of interaction between David and Saul for a long time?
Mm-hmm.
Where Saul had that hatred for David, and David tended to step back rather than.
Yeah, sidestepping as much as he could, yeah. So so we can see this, and so that's what Jude is talking about here. And, but his point being is that these who have overreached or overstepped where they should be in their service on various levels, he said we've got an example here where the devil himself has overreached and overstepped, and yet Michael reserved himself, contained himself and said, look, the Lord take care of you. Okay? So, all right, let's, how far are we here? Put the other two questions to go here. Okay. Question number 2, is Michael stronger than Satan? What do you kids think? Do you think Michael, the archangel, is stronger than Satan, another archangel? That's a good question. All right, come Monday, you can raise that to your teachers and see what they say. No. As noted, Michael and Satan did not engage in actual fight over Moses' body. However, angels can engage in combat with each other, as recorded in the verses alongside. What we do not know is the exact nature of this combat. If Satan and Michael battled, mano a mano, right? Mano a mano. I'm not sure who would win, but I would sure like to watch. Well, are you crazy? Who wrote it? Michael's going to win, because Michael's on the side of God. Okay, Michael's God's general. Okay, of course he'd win. In any event.
That'd be bigger than Tyson Holyfield.
Well, yes.
Yeah, that's pay-per-view right there.
Well, that is, yes, yeah. In any event, Michael won in both the two references shown below. Okay, so if he's got 2 out of 3, why wouldn't he say win the third? All right. Then question number 3. Why did Michael merely ask God to rebuke Satan rather than engaging him in combat? Jude 8 condemns people who were rejecting authority and speaking evil of dignitaries. So he's dealing with people in the now and in the present, in this plane of life, as to their conduct and relative to the faith once delivered to the saints. So then he points to this reference here that even Michael, restrained himself or held himself back when dealing with Satan. All right. Vicki, would you take in contrast there? See that there?
In contrast with those who speak evil, Michael's forbearance in his dispute with Satan was given as an example of not speaking evil of dignitaries. Yes, Satan was a dignitary. Before Satan rebelled against God, he held high office in the mountain of God. Namely, Satan was the anointed cherub who covers. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. By the abundance of your trading, you became filled with violence within, and you sinned. Therefore I cast you as a profane thing out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of fiery stones. It was God who established Satan in his high office. It was God who cast Satan out of his high office in the mountain of God. Clearly then, only God can appoint to a high office. Only God may dispose from high office. Only God may decree the decree of punishment or dishonor to befall those who rebel against them.
So that's why Michael deferred him to, okay, you know, your commander-in-chief, God, who you left, okay, he's still your commander-in-chief. Okay, in other words, you need to answer to him. So I'm not gonna do anything until I'm given permission to actually engage in combat. Okay, and so we see in Revelation 12, as I said, Michael and his angels are given permission. And what's interesting is this is in the last days, just prior to Jesus coming. And so we've got things happening just above us, let's just say, and things happening in our plane. Just above us would be this combat, okay? My thoughts are that it's possible that as Jesus makes his entry, he's coming with his holy angels to gather together his holy people to take them into the city, that Satan mounts an opposition and actually is seeking to interrupt this gathering and the armies of God, the angels, and some type of military, interference as a last-ditch effort, as it were, to run interference on this process, and of course stopping him from the inauguration of his kingdom. And we're actually seeing this same scenario play out in our plane of life. You don't want an inauguration to take place, and so you're going to create an upheaval, right? Because you hate the man that's elected, and so you are going to try to muster your forces together and mount an opposition. Well, I think that's what Satan and his army of angels are doing, or will do. And so now it's time to engage in combat. Okay? Now you do it. Okay? So that's my thoughts on that. All right, so it is God's prerogative, and his alone, to rebuke the dignitaries he appoints. Thus, Michael did not rebuke Satan. Rather, Michael asked God to do so. So as I said, he deferred that to God. By the way, I have a problem with Christians who go about saying words such as, Satan, I rebuke you. I know of no verse in the Bible that commands or permits a Christian to exercise such power or authority. It is God's prerogative to rebuke Satan, not yours or mine or any other creatures. I don't know if I ever said, Satan, I rebuke you. But, saying, get out of here, or whatever, but about rebuke you. But that's interesting. All right, well, I found this guy's thoughts interesting, worth bringing up on the table and discussing it. Okay, I hope you did. All right, let's close it.